Fathers and sons. When I was pregnant with my son, my husband, myself, and our 4-year-old daughter Lizzie rented out a small duplex. Our neighbor was an older couple who lived on the right side of the building. They seemed friendly enough, a couple in their mid-70s. We enjoyed the place. The house was nice. Most of the neighbors seemed nice. Lizzie loved her room. In fact, she spent most of her time in there, playing with her dolls, making them talk to each other, doing impressions of her favorite cartoon characters and pretending they were having tea with Barbie. She even did a spot-on Ken's impression voice. We'd have to drag her outside, literally, to get some fresh air. The only thing that was of any annoyance was that every now and then, around 11 p.m. at night, long after Lizzie had gone to bed, my husband and I would be laying in bed watching TV, and all of a sudden, we'd hear rather loudly through the walls, "California Dreamin'" by the Mamas and the Papas. It would play about 3 times and then stop abruptly. Now, it wasn't every single night, and the only thing that we could figure was that it had to be coming from the elderly couple next door, and they must have really liked the song, because it was so loud. Where else could it be coming from? But we figured it really wasn't worth the mention. Lizzie had yet to complain about it, and we were still awake when it happened, so it didn't really bother us much. However, a few months into our stay, I found myself in labor. And this time, it was much longer than the labor that I'd had with Lizzie. And I ended up having a cesarean section. When I was able to come home 4 days later, I was exhausted. Toby was a fussy baby from the start, and I was having a terrible time getting him to sleep for even 2 hours at a time. He needed rest, and I needed rest. The first night home from the hospital, I'd finally gotten him to sleep when "California Dreamin'" began blasting through the walls. Toby screamed, and I, feeling defeated, began to cry. My husband insisted that we go next door at once, but I convinced him that we should wait until the morning when we were calmer. We never got the chance. The old woman had died in her sleep the night before, and her daughter, with whom we spoke to the next day, told us that the husband was so distraught that he had been taken to the hospital to be evaluated. We expressed our sorries and well wishes. She asked us if there was anything we had wanted in particular. We laughed nervously and explained that it was kind of silly, but we were there to ask them to please not play music so loud and late at night. Their daughter looked puzzled and explained that her parents didn't even own a music player and only had a black and white TV with an old VCR hooked up to it. No cable or satellite. So it would be near impossible that it was them. They had a radio, sure, but there was no way it was playing the exact same song every few days at the exact same time. We left, very puzzled. Later that day, we got a call that we'd been waiting for. The house that we'd put in a bid for was approved. We were so excited. We'd be able to move very soon. When I picked Lizzie up from preschool, I told her the good news. She squealed with delight. Then she started to play with Toby's little fingers. He looked at her from his car seat, and she started to sing, I'd be safe and warm if I was in LA, California dreaming on such a winter's day. I nearly choked on my gum. Does that bother you, Lizzie, when you hear it at night? I asked her. Oh no, Mama, I just love it. I shrugged. Go figure, I thought. Lizzie gasped. Oh no, Mama, I just thought of something. What's that, Lizzie? Will he get to come with us? Who, Toby? Of course, he's your brother, silly. No, not Toby. The boy. The older boy. The one in my closet. The one who plays me my song on his tape player, he calls it. Is he coming with us? I swallowed hard. I nearly went off the road, but kept my composure. I was completely freaked out. I wouldn't let Lizzie in her room until her father had searched it up and down, checked that her window was locked, etc. He thought I was being ridiculous, but I made her sleep with us until we moved. On our pack-out day, I was talking to a woman down the street. She remarked how people never stayed very long in that particular duplex. Then she said this next line, and I'll never forget it. Like it was just matter of fact. No big deal. And I wish she hadn't said it. But when I asked her what she meant by that, she said, I don't know. It must be some sort of negative energy left over. You know, from the 16-year-old boy who hung himself in the closet of the smaller bedroom back in the late 80s. The blood drained from my face. Excuse me? In my house? Well, yeah, she said. Didn't the landlord tell you about that? I thought they're supposed to tell you about that sort of thing. Well, story goes, his father physically and verbally abused him because he thought he was gay. He loved music and wanted to be a singer and a songwriter. He loved 60s and 70s music, but his father wouldn't have it. He thought he was a sissy and he needed to grow up and be a man. The boy became severely depressed and he ended his own life. Very tragic. I can't believe the landlord didn't tell you. I stared at this woman because I wasn't sure if she really felt the tragedy of what she was saying or if she just enjoyed spreading the gossip of it. Either way, if it was true, I felt very sad and very sick. I was also very creeped out and very happy when we were finally on the road to our new house. As we were pulling onto the highway, California Dreamin' came on the radio. From an anonymous listener dedicated to his good friend Lizzie. We let the song play all the way through, and they played it 3 times exactly. We were too afraid to change the station.